Good evening and welcome to the PACE Alliance City Council Candidate Forum. I'd like to begin thanking each of our candidates for their willingness to run for City Council and for being here tonight to share their priorities and viewpoints with us. Thank you as well to our in-house audience, our listeners and viewers for taking the time to engage in this important conversation. We appreciate the coverage by our local media partners, KNIA, KRLS Radio, and Pella Fiber, Pella TV, who are making this information available to voters across the community. My name is Karen Eischen, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Pella Area Community and Economic Alliance, or PACE Alliance, as it's commonly referred. We are our community's Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization, representing nearly 275 business members. At PACE, we know a thriving business community and effective city governance go hand in hand in shaping a prosperous future for our city. Tonight is our opportunity for our members and our residents of the community to hear directly from our candidates to better understand their vision for economic development, community growth, and the overall business climate. At PACE, we believe the role of the City Council is vital in creating an environment where businesses, families, and individuals can flourish. From policies, infrastructure, housing, and quality of life amenities, City Council decisions directly impact the ability to attract and retain businesses, create jobs, and ensure Pella continues to grow as a vibrant and welcoming community. We invite you to listen closely, consider carefully, and use what you learned tonight to make an informed choice when you cast your vote on November 4th. Together, we all share the responsibility of strengthening the fabric of our community and ensuring Pella remains a wonderful place to live, work, and thrive. So let's get started with our forum tonight and hear from each of our candidates running for City Council. It is my pleasure to introduce our forum facilitator, Dr. Andrew Green, who is back for our 4th forum, so he's a pro at this. Please help me welcome him.
Good evening, candidates. Good evening. It's great to be with you tonight. And good evening to everyone out in the audience. My name is Andrew Green. I'm professor of political science at Central College, and as Karen mentioned, this is the 4th go-around with City Council forums, and so it's a lot of fun. I always learn a lot, and I hope you all do too. Before we get started with opening statements, I wanted to talk through the structured rules for the forum tonight, and then we'll get started hearing from our candidates. In a moment, each candidate will be given 90 seconds to offer an opening statement regarding her or his candidacy for the City Council. After opening statements are completed, I have a series of questions which focus on local economic development in the Pella community. Each candidate will be given 60 seconds to answer each question. A timekeeper sitting in front of the stage will hold a card up when the candidate has 30 seconds left, 15 seconds left, and when the candidate's time has expired. At the end of the forum, each candidate will be given 90 seconds to offer a closing statement. The order in which the candidates will answer questions has been randomized by the office to ensure fairness. We ask the audience to hold their applause until the completion of the forum. Audience members may submit questions to be asked to the candidates. If you are interested in submitting a question, it must be related to local economic development, and questions cannot be posed to a single candidate or a group of candidates. Due to time constraints, the submission of a question does not guarantee that it will be asked during the forum. If you would like to submit a question, 3x5 cards are available from PACE Alliance staff members. If you would like a card, please raise your hand and a card will be provided to you. Once you have finished writing your question on the card, please raise your hand again and it will be collected. If you submitted a question that is not asked during the forum, the PACE Alliance encourages you to engage with the candidates throughout the remainder of the campaign in order to get your specific questions answered. Finally, we are broadcasting live on KNIA KRLS Radio tonight. As a result, we will need to pause for a short station identification break about halfway through the forum around 7 p.m. A 3-minute break is scheduled at that time. With that, we will turn to opening statements from the candidates. Tonight, we are fortunate to have all 6 candidates running for the Pella City Council here with us. 5 of the candidates are here with us on the stage, and 1 candidate is joining us via phone. And so at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome the candidate in Ward 1, Lynn Branderhorst. In Ward 3, Spencer Carlstone via phone, Anita Fisher, and Bruce Skibow. And running in the at-large is Calvin Banstra and Ann Summit. We'll start with our opening statements, and with the random draw, Ward 3 was drawn first, and Spencer Carlstone was drawn first in the random draw within Ward 3. So I'll turn it over to Councilmember Carlstone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Spencer Carlstone. I want to thank everybody on the stage and out in the audience for being flexible with me calling in. We had this commitment made long before the pace date was set. So my apologies for the technical delays, but I'm very grateful for PACE and the Community Center for being flexible working this out. I also want to thank Professor Green, the citizens of Pella, both in the Community Center and outside, for coming and showing that interest in our community and its future. I want to encourage everyone to go out and vote November 4th. And lastly, I want to thank the candidates on the stage for their interest and willingness to serve the citizens of Pella, their effort to engage the community, and for the healthy dialogue tonight and throughout the campaign. Again, my name is Spencer Carlstone. I would introduce myself as a Jesus follower, a husband, a father, a physician, a dreamer who enjoys watching rising tides raise all the boats. And I feel like that's the moment we're in as a city and the way the future will be shaped by those on the stage. I've enjoyed serving these last 4 years. It's been educational. It's been a growing experience for me. And it's been exciting to see the forward progress we've made in 4 short years. I look forward to serving 4 more because there's a lot of work left to do. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Anita Fisher.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. So my name's Anita Vermeer Fisher. I am proud to be the 6th generation Vermeer to live here in Pella. A little bit about me. I have married and been with my husband for 23 years now. The 12th of October is our anniversary, so we're looking forward to that, I think, right, honey? Yes. And so between the 2 of us, we've had 3 children. Our first, her name is Jackie. She is a mental health counselor here in Pella. She's married to her husband, Michael, and they have our grandson, Ben, and he's our pride and joy. And then our son's name is Brandon. He goes to Iowa State University, and he is currently a thrower of discus, and he's got quite the record. If you keep track of him, he's set the record here in Pella High, so we're really proud of that. And so we also have my youngest, or our youngest, her name is Carly, and she's worked at Subway here for 3 years. So we are a group of people who are very involved in our community, and we just want to keep moving forward. Thank you. I see I'm out of time.
And next we'll hear from Bruce Skibow.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to you, Andrew, and to the PACE Alliance for, again, putting this forum on. This is a good educational for the public. A little bit of background about myself. I am born and raised up in Sioux County. Went to school in SDSU up in Brookings. And in February of 1987, I moved here with my wife and 5 children. She was a native of Pella. And we were drawn here after living in large metropolitan areas. We were drawn here really because of the school systems and the safety of the community and its traditional values. We found it a great place to raise our family. In February of '89, I founded a business, Eagle Electric, and I now am semi-retired from that. But it is still a family-owned and operated business. And my first oath of this office was in January of 2002. And after I served 20 consecutive years, faithfully attending meetings and served the community. I've always felt that the City Council's first and foremost was fiduciary responsibility. So, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Awesome. Good. Thanks everyone for coming. It's good to see everyone involved. And the audience here, you are what makes our community click. And the fact that you're here this evening shows me and the rest of us at this table that you really care about this city government. And Dr. Green, thank you for giving your evening up to hang around with us tonight and ask us questions. And as always, I'm very grateful to PACE for doing this forum. It's important for us all to understand what candidates stand for. Pella has been my home. It has educated me, it has raised me, and it has put up with me for a very long time. I'm the daughter of the Pella kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Hinga, who was here for decades. And I still hear from people in their 40s and 50s that she is and always will be their favorite teacher. My father was a college dean, so I hear from them a lot. Man, your dad was something else. The greatest accomplishment that I have done in the past 8 years is to serve you. And I'd love to continue to be able to serve you and honor you with my presence at the table. I am there to serve the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear from our at-large candidates, starting with Ann Summit.
Good evening. Thank you, Pace, and everybody who's here. It's great to see many, many faces. I am a true Pella person, born, raised, educated in this community. My grandfather was on the city council here. My dad served on the Pella Park Commission when it was a 3-man elected group. My roots are deep. I went to Lincoln School, then right here in junior high, and then on to the high school. I attended Central College, graduated. Once I graduated, I started my teaching career in Monroe, and the fire hit, and at the time it consolidated into PCM. I moved to Pella, where I taught for 22 years. I ended my career at at Jefferson Intermediate. I have a passion for Pella. I started out giving tours in junior high at what is now the Wyatt Earp home. I just love this community, and I want to see it continue in the direction of historic, fiscally responsible, and just becoming a vibrant, vibrant community for all. Thank you.
And finally, we'll hear from Calvin Banstrom.
Thank you, everyone. I'll repeat the thanks that everybody else has said for coming out tonight. Whenever I want to learn about something on a website, I always like to go to the History tab or the About Us tab. So a little bit about me. I grew up on northeast of Pella on a dairy farm near Tainer. The work of a dairy farm is offset by the abundance of homemade ice cream, which was a nice factor for that. My education was at Peoria Christian Grade School in Peoria, North Mahaska High School in New Sharon, and then in Bruce's territory in Sioux County at Dordt College, where I had a double major in agribusiness and accounting. I also had the unique experience while at Dordt. I spent a semester in the Netherlands where I learned to read and write Dutch, and have enjoyed translating a lot of old memorabilia that folks often find as they go from here. From there, I also got my MBA from Drake University as well. My work career has been 40 years in the banking industry, starting out in 1985 as a bank examiner. And for those of you who remember 85 in the farm crisis years, it was a good way to learn. From there, I became a loan officer at Lighton State Bank, and I work at Bank Iowa right now, where I lead the lending effort in 5 offices based in Pella. My main reason for running, I want to keep the positive vibes going in Pella. What the council members have started already, I just want to keep doing.
Okay, we'll move to our first question, and for question number 1, we'll start with Ward 1 and Lynn Branderhorst.
Thank you.
What are your top 3 priorities if elected to the city council, and why have you chosen these issues as your focus?
Thank you for asking that. If you look at me, you wouldn't really think this about me, but I have a passion for infrastructure in our community. And I spent a lot of time my first term learning about our infrastructure. So one of my main focuses is just that, infrastructure, everything that's beneath your feet and keeping it moving. We have a lot of sewers and water lines in our communities that are 100+ years old. Second priority is going to be transparency in government. I love to give information to people, and I want to keep that going. I want people, the taxpayers, to know what is going on, because if they know, that creates unity. And secondly is financial responsibility. I am a big proponent of our fiduciary responsibility, and I also know that if we spend too much, it's going to take us a long time to right our ship.
We'll move to our at-large candidates. Same question to Calvin Banstra.
Yes, my first priority would be economic development. That's kind of my world in the banking industry, and it's really not a new priority for its city council, which has been going on for years. The economic development is the lifeblood of a city for continued growth, and I just want to continue the work that's already been done. The second priority would be the comprehensive plan that is in place of being drawn up as we speak. There are listening sessions going on right now, and this is going to be an extremely important document, as that is going to set the blueprint for what the city looks like for the next 20+ years. So after we hear the city, from the citizen involvement, we'll also hear from the nonprofits, the city staff, and the business community. And the final one would be something that's been kind of vexing the city for a while, and that's the EMS agreement that we have with our townships. That was a issue that the city took over and kind of unexpectedly with the demise of the nonprofit ambulance service, and that's one that's a statewide problem that we just have to keep working on.
And to Ann Summit, what are your top 3 priorities if elected to the council?
My top 3 priorities, first of all, fiscal responsibility. We need to make sure we're living within our means. As we all know, as homeowners and business owners and things, we do have an obligation to do that. My second piece is thoughtful and well-planned out growth. We need to look at all the growth that's happening right now as an entire piece, not just little pieces. We need to bring together green space, we need to bring together traffic flow, we need to bring together sidewalks, bike trails, and those types of things. And my third point is transparency and communication. Without vital communication, how do our citizens know what truly is happening? So there are a couple of ideas I have about this to make this happen, and we just need to move forward with them.
Moving to our Ward 3 candidates, starting with Anita Fisher, what are your 3 top priorities if elected to the council?
Well, my top 3 priorities, number 1 is fiscal responsibility. While a city council's main duty is to manage the budget, set tax levies, managing debt, and aligning spending with the community priorities. I'm not running to change past decisions, but to ensure current ones protect Pella's future. With state property tax reform being discussed last session, we know for sure that it's going to be addressed this session. So we need to spend wisely and avoid commitments beyond our means. Number two, advocating for Pella's needs. Our Pella's Dutch heritage and our community are treasures worth protecting. We must support balanced growth, but ensure services remain that keep safe and strong. Number three is responsive and transparent leadership. Council members must be accessible, accountable, and responsive.
Same question to Bruce Skibout.
Well, I think the third ward will be covered as far as financial responsibility. Because that is and always has been my focus. We need to watch how we spend the citizens' tax money. And second is public safety, and it goes beyond just funding the police and the fire and the EMS services. That's a vital part of it. But also how you lay out and your infrastructure can be very important and can save efficiency-wise and also safety. And then third is infrastructure. You know, every year that passes, infrastructure is a finite commodity, and we want to upgrade our facilities and utilities in appropriate ways and time.
And to Spencer Carlstone, what are your top three priorities if elected to the council?
Yes, thank you. I believe the city has done an excellent job of fiscal responsibility. I hear a lot of that tonight on the stage. I think the city must continue to move forward with development of housing, amenities, and with an attitude of forward-thinking planning to best prepare us for the next generation or two. We have to set our sights on the horizon, not at our feet. The city must continue to represent the refuge that is in our name. We need to continue to welcome, love, and be familial in our nature. And thirdly, the council's responsibility is to set vision and course. I want to continue to support and empower our skilled and capable staff, directors, boards, committees. They do an excellent job and should not be interfered with by the city council. Thank you.
We'll move to question number 2, and we'll start with our at-large candidates with Ann Summit. What is your fiscal philosophy? Specifically, how do you view the balance between the overall tax burden of Pella residents and the need to make strategic investments in Pella's future, which requires public revenues?
First of all, concerning this issue, we must be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. That's the top line. There's a fine line right now between wants and needs. We need to be aware of those. All areas of Pella need to be adequately funded. We need to start with a dialogue with the public and ultimately finding solutions to concerns of the problems that we are facing here. Deferred maintenance projects should be prioritized on a continuous basis with the City of Pella properties. All groups need representation in this community. As our first Chamber of Commerce director said, as your downtown district goes, so goes your community. So we need to keep that in mind. We need to be watching our debt limit very, very carefully. We're not there, but we need to watch that. And last of all, essential services should take top priority. That's due to the safety of our community.
Same question to Calvin Banstra.
Yes, my fiscal philosophy is kind of an offshoot of that economic development piece that we mentioned in the first question. If you look at city government, the same size of city government now, 5 years from now, will be 10% higher. 2% growth of inflation a year is often what they figured. So in order to cover that growth in cost, you also have to have a growth in revenue, or you have to increase property taxes. So I really think the best way to be a fiscally responsible is to invest in projects now that will create a revenue stream in the future, which means to be proactive on development. That means to be looking at amenities that will attract more people to come here. All those things that will eventually have a payoff in the future. It's a calculated risk. It takes a lot of balance between that and the infrastructure needs mentioned earlier. But if we don't look at those things for the future, we're going to be paying for it on our own through property taxes.
Moving to our Ward 3 candidates and Bruce Skibow. What is your fiscal philosophy?
I am not opposed to strategic planning and investments, but I think what we need to keep in mind is that the infrastructure that goes to these investments lies squarely on the city's back and shoulders. And if I understand that as you put in such amenities, the tax base also will increase. But beyond that, so does the maintenance of these facilities. So I think that's a balancing act that we have to be careful for.
To Spencer Carlstone, what is your fiscal philosophy?
Yes, thank you. Calvin alluded to this well. The city's budget is dependent on costs and then revenue. The costs are inclining, increasing, and our revenues only have so many levers to pull. We have not increased our tax rate for 20 years, something I think everybody is grateful for. That being said, our tax bills are going up because of assessments. We don't have much control over that. Hopefully the state legislature gives some relief to us there. So the only other levers we have to pull are to increase our tax base, which is directly related to how forward-thinking we are with development. We need more housing developments, businesses, retail and commercial development to happen that can be taxed to increase our revenue. Calvin said that more eloquently than I did, but those are the only two levers we have. Now, thankfully, due to past council decisions and continued decisions over these last 4 years, we do have alternative income sources with our electrical utility being very profitable for the city, and more recently, Pella Fiber coming online, providing an excellent service to our community, but also providing additional revenue. It's that kind of forward thinking that the city has to be involved in for us to survive and thrive in the future.
Same question to Anita Fisher.
So while I can appreciate the thought of forward thinking, I really think we must be sure that we count the cost, always. What kind of effect is this going to have on the taxpayers moving forward? Because Pella is the people, and I can tell you, as I've gone door to door, people are concerned about how much things are costing and how much the property tax is. And I understand that if we have a bigger base, that will help with that, but we still need to be cautious as we move forward. And like I said previously, we need to count the cost.
And to our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst, what is your fiscal philosophy?
Well, I am conservative, but it isn't all my fault because the reason I even ran for office is because Mayor Dobenecker came to me one day, or in my place of work, and said, "Kid," called me kid because he was my teacher, wasn't a kid, but he said, "You need to run for office." And Daryl and I met once a week for about 6 months, and he kept hammering into my head, it comes down to finances. Your community is as healthy as your finances are. And so I have remained steadfast in having a more conservative approach. I am that crazy council lady that goes through every line item every time we look at the spending and approve the spending at our meetings. I can tell you when the police department has spent $3.75 on a dog boat. That is how conservative I can be.
For question 3, we're going to start with our Ward 3 candidates, and we'll begin with Spencer Carlstone. Workforce is an important element of any municipality's economic development plans. What current and future challenges do you see regarding Pella's workforce, and what role does the City Council play in addressing those workforce challenges?
Thank you for the question. I think the last 10 years or so, our corporations have been calling loudly for the city to act so that they can continue to attract and retain talent. We've heard that term over and over again. I think the city council members must understand that fiscal conservative status and stance doesn't answer that call. We have to continue to be proactive, making infrastructure available to new tracts of land. We need to bring roads and streets to new tracts of land. We need to continue to use inventive and rewarding tax incentive for developers to come to Pella. We have shielded them for years, and we need to have a posture of welcome. Come to Pella. We need the housing. We need the retail. We need the commercial developments so that our industry can attract, employ, and retain the talent they need to thrive. Because it was mentioned earlier that the health of a community comes down to its finances. I would say the health of a community comes down to the health of its industry. Having graduated from Newton High School, and all of us here in attendance can understand what has happened to our communities nearby that have lost those industry. Fiscal responsibility doesn't affect the outcome. The industry and the jobs have to be present.
To Anita Fisher, how do you view those workforce challenges, and what is the City Council's role in addressing them?
So Pella has a strong work ethic, but like you said, local employers still face some work shortages. So while the city can't directly create jobs, it can help create conditions for success. Key challenges include, and this is after speaking to some of our local businesses. Those were workforce housing, childcare, which would probably be a private sector issue, transportation, and parking. And so we have plenty of people in Ward 3 that live in the reserves and in that area who would love to find a job uptown. However, many of them don't drive. They either go bicycle or they walk. So it would be, I think, a benefit if we implemented the city's 2014 comprehensive study for trails and sidewalks, and that we could better connect residents to workplace.
And the same question about workforce challenges to Bruce Skibout.
With this question, I have to disagree with you, Dr. Carlson. I talk to many employees, many have the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that come and wish to move to Pella. And the number one reason that they do not is because of the cost of living. And I think we as a community and as a city especially need to hold down the cost on the taxes and fees. I think that will bring more people in. Because right now, a lot of people will come and work from outside the community because they can't afford living in town.
To our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst, how do you view those workforce challenges and what is the City Council's role?
Well, workforce challenges right now, it's a national epidemic. And I believe that our role is to really walk alongside of our businesses, large and small, walk alongside of our industry. But I think we also need to turn our attention to organizations like PACE and like Visit Pella that do this job so well of telling us about what people want. Why are they moving here? That it's important for us to listen as well. I think that when I'm meeting with industry leaders, educational leaders, the one thing that they're feeling that is a stumbling block for them for a workforce is the cost of housing. So we need to look at that as well, and we need to look at incentivizing some of our housing. And I feel that we do live in a wonderful community, and by giving people things to do, opportunities for their spare time, that's a major portion of this as well.
And to our at-large candidates, to Calvin Banstra, how do you view those workforce challenges and the City Council's role?
Well, I'm going to probably dovetail on something Lynn just said. I really think that one of the single most issues of our workforce is available, affordable housing, particularly for those that are just new to the workforce. In my first term of council, we have done quite a bit of that. We had the Prairie Ridge development, we had Viewpoint, we had Kading, and then we also saw the conversion of Hilltop South and Dutch Mill Motel into housing units. But demand is still outstripping supply. So we have a lot of people that still want to come and live in Pella. Other communities, Oskaloosa and Newton, both have had departments, housing departments, to have initiatives for housing. Those do cost money, and again, we have to have the balance on the need for a workforce if we want that or not. We have an exciting program with Prairie Ridge creating a low to moderate income pool that I think Lynn is actually spearheading for our city, that we can have new ideas and new programs to help with that housing issue, which will also help with our workforce issue.
And the same question to Ann Summit.
We're all in this together. And that's one thing we have to remember is our homeowners, our businesses, the city, the renters, and others in this community need to have input on this issue. We need to sit down and have a dialogue. The future of our workforce is constantly changing and evolving, and at times it can be hard to predict. An area of concern I'm hearing about, as other candidates have alluded to, is the entry-level workforce housing. We're still not there. We all hear how many people want to work here, are working here, but they can't afford to live here. Pella will need to continue to have a robust housing opportunities to address all these needs, but we have to listen to the citizens.
Okay, we'll move to question 4, which is also related to workforce, and question 4 will start with Lynn Branderhorst. How can the city partner with schools, colleges, and employers to strengthen our local workforce?
I feel that, again, to Ann's point, dialogue is so important. And we need to sit down with some of these leaders and ask them, what are the hindrances that you're seeing? I had the honor of meeting with a group of leaders, community leaders one day, and we talked about what do they face and what are their expectations of city government. And it was very interesting to me to hear what their challenges are and to come back and to see what we could do. Calvin mentioned an initiative that came out of that, and that is we're going to do two districts in our community that are going to come in and revitalize areas that will then potentially have more housing in a more affordable environment, which is also a neighborhood environment.
To our at-large candidates and to Ann Summit, how do you see the city partnering with schools, colleges, and employers to strengthen our local workforce?
First of all, we have an abundance of amenities, especially now with the indoor rec center coming up and the remodel of this building. This is adding to the amenities of our community. The other thing I think we need to work on is collaborating with not just the city doing everything, and I think a wonderful example of this is Wonderspellen Park, the Tuttle Walkway, where other groups have come in to help with all of this. The City of Pella, the Kiwanis, the Pella Preservation Trust, we're in this together. So let's work together, let's collaborate together to make these things happen with amenities. When groups work together, then it becomes more of an opportunity for everyone to be engaged. That brings about ownership, which in turn unifies groups to work together for the good of our community.
Same question to Calvin Banstra.
Well, I wish I had a better memory because I would just repeat what Lynn said. The dialogue is critically important to first find out what the employers want, what the schools want, what are the true needs, because often those folks have the pulse of that and they can relay it to us. So I think that's the way that we can hear what the specific needs are. But then the hard part comes the second part. What's the city going to do with that information? And that's where we really have to pause and look at what kind of investment we had. I know Oskaloosa had where the city had a housing trust fund where they lent money at 0% for down payment and closing costs for first-time home buyers. But that comes with a cost with personnel, that comes with the cost of the actual funding. So it's going to have to be that combination to find out which way we can go forward.
And to our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Anita Fisher, how do you see, or how can the city partner with schools, colleges, and employers to strengthen our local workforce?
So Central College has something going on right now that they have people going out, their kids going and talking to workforces around the area. So that's something that we need to continue with, and we need to look at that at our high school level as well, because Central College is doing a great thing. So that's something that we need to talk to our schools, our high schools, because there's several kids there that would like to continue, maybe work on as, meet with some people who are working for carpenters. There's plenty of room for carpenters and those that, plumbers. So maybe we need to talk to some of the schools and let them know that we've got other people, you know, that they could maybe hang around with and learn a few things moving forward.
Same question to Bruce Skiba.
In communicating with many people that are wishing to move to Pella and are trying to move to Pella, I've found that our schools and system and the safety of our community and our traditional historical values are what draw people to this community. And you know, these commodities that and amenities that we as a city put up or others are great, but I think that oftentimes we can lose the fundamental what brings people here is basically fundamentally our posterity and success.
To Spencer Carlstone, how can the city partner with schools, colleges, and employers to strengthen our local workforce?
Lots of great answers. I think this is a great question, and I think it's a great opportunity for our city. And I think several of the employers specifically have already done nice work combining efforts with our local high schools to develop welders and tradespeople, like Anita mentioned. I think the partnership between the City of Pella and Central College is one that I think is underdeveloped. I think Dr. Putnam has started to extend towards the city. I think the city needs to continue to work intimately with the college so the college can continue to thrive in its competitive marketplace, and so City of Pella can enjoy all that fantastic talent that is at Central College. I think about things like incubators or think tanks with the college kids, with our employers, even with some high school talent that might want to stay in Pella. Getting them involved at that level might entice them to stay in Pella after their graduations. Great question.
Our next question will start with our at-large candidates, beginning with Calvin Banstra. Tax increment financing, or TIF, is often used by communities as a tool to support economic development projects. Could you share your understanding of how TIF works and how you see it being used in Pella's future growth?
Well, TIF has been a tool that is one of the few tools given by the Iowa legislator for cities to help developers. And 60 seconds is not long enough to explain TIF, but I will say it gives the advantage of providing a funding mechanism where the value that has been created can use to help pay developer costs. And that has been one of the nemesises of development over the years as costs have gone up and up and up and up. How do the developers pay for that? So cities can do one of two things. They can give a grant that gets paid back by TIF, or the developer can borrow and use the TIF revenues to come back and pay TIF. So it's with 15 seconds left, all I can say is TIF is good. Just look at the Molengrot. That was a TIF project that has paid all kinds of dividends to this city.
Same question about TIF to Ann Summit.
It is a complicated situation with TIFs. The thing that TIFs do is they do give back to the developer. However, it's a long-term process before the city starts to get the taxes in to the city to be used, sometimes 10 to 15 years. So while the TIFs are being enforced, the police, the fire, the snow removal, streets, none of those TIFed areas are paying into that. It's a great economic development tool, but we have to make sure that we are using it in the correct way and that we're making sure we're not having too many. Iowa happens to be the top state in TIFs, with Minnesota next. And Minnesota has 1/3 of what Iowa has in TIFs. So we have to be careful with this. It's a tool for development, but sometimes the citizens end up paying the price.
To our Ward 3 candidates, starting with Bruce Skibow. What is your understanding of TIF, and how do you see it being used in Pella's future growth?
Well, I think TIF has been an extremely good tool that the city has had at its disposal. I think that Ann and Calvin have gone into about as much depth as we have time for the understanding of TIF. It is a concern because you can overuse TIF. As Ann alluded to, the payback, the services rendered to that TIF area are a strain on the existing community and its services, but they don't get any reimbursement for those until the TIF is complete. So we have to watch the percentage of TIFs that we use.
Same question about TIF to Spencer Carlstone.
Well, I appreciate Ann bringing up that Minnesota only does 1/3 the TIFs Iowans do. We always knew that Iowans were a little smarter than Minnesotans. We've talked about the strain on infrastructural pieces of the city, and that's a valid concern. But we're forgetting the idea that TIF allows for the development that allows for the attraction and retention of talent, which is kind of the whole point. It brings people to live in Pella, to invest in Pella, to shop in Pella, to join our schools in Pella, et cetera. So we can choose to see the positives or we choose to see the negatives.
The same question to Anita Fisher.
So yes, I've always seen it as an excellent tool that can be used, especially, for the blighted areas. It has brought a lot of housing into Pella, and we are very, very appreciative of that. However, as I've gone door to door speaking with folks, there was a gal that said, "How do you feel about TIFs?" I'm like, "Well, it needs to be done in moderation." And she's like, "Good." Because we came from a town that became so over-TIFed that we lost our town. And I don't understand how you can exactly lose a town to TIF, but there was a lot of expenses that went into taking care of the TIF without getting the money back. So we need to be careful how much TIF we use.
And to Ward 1 and Lynn Branderhorst, could you share your understanding of how TIF works and how you see it as being used in Pella's future growth?
TIF is an interesting beast. To Calvin's point, I do like TIFs, and I think that they need to be, each TIF needs to be looked at individually. I think a lot of projects would not get finished or even started without TIFs. I think that we also need to look at a TIF as another tool towards our low to moderate income housing, because 37% of your TIF goes into a fund that funds low to moderate housing in this community. That's a benefit of TIF. That is what's going to drive us towards getting some of these homes that will entice some of these workers that we need in our community, these families that we need in our community to develop the neighborhoods that are so vital in our community. So there are benefits to TIFs.
For our next question, we'll start with the Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Spencer Carlstone. Pella has benefited from a range of public-private partnerships in recent years. What will you do as a member of the Pella City Council to advance those opportunities in the years to come?
Great question. Private-public partnerships have been a significant part of Pella's history, and I think it's a significant part of its future. This community is full of innovators, do-gooders, and generous people that have great ideas. And I think the city can continue to be low friction for those ideas to come to fruition by these private-public partnerships. I'm in favor, and I think they've been a fantastic benefit to our community.
Same question to Anita Fisher.
Absolutely. We have so many different organizations within the community. We need to think or look up of some list that we have them all together, because these people, these organizations have so many ways that they could help other people within the community. And we have no idea how many there are out there. At least I didn't. I'm learning. And we need to continue to move forward with these organizations and the people that they help. We need to get this information out there. There's so many people that could be helped by these organizations. So definitely good thing for the community.
To Bruce Skibow, if you're elected to the Pella City Council, how would you advance public partnership opportunities?
I think that the city of Pella has done a pretty good job of advancing the partnership. I do think that the city needs to be careful in that its burden lies at the interest of the citizens and the infrastructure that it uses. But to make it seamless beyond the use of financial funds, I think is imperative. And I'm all for the city as Dr. Carlson said, making a smooth transition for that to happen. But I think we need to be cautious on the financial end of it.
Same question regarding public-private partnerships and the city's role in advancing them to Lynn Branderhorst.
I love collaborative efforts. I love nothing more than when a group comes into chambers and they have an idea and they say, we want to walk alongside of you. Would you help us with our project? Or as what happened on Tuesday evening with the Rotary, we have an idea and we're going to offset the expenses of that. Collaborative efforts are what makes communities close-knit communities. The projects that organizations bring to us are important, and we need to be sure that we make these organizations or these private entities feel welcomed and heard within our city council. So I'm a big fan.
To our at-large candidates, starting with Ann Summit, if you were elected to the Pella City Council, how would you advance public-private partnership opportunities?
I feel like I already alluded to that under quality of life, talking about Wondrous Felon and about the Tuttle Walkway. And I'm involved in multiple areas within this community where we have been allowed to give to these different projects. And I feel it's a wonderful way for the community to get involved with the city in positive ways.
Same question to Calvin Banster.
Yeah, we just got done talking about TIF, and I think that is one of the biggest public-private partnerships in the economic world, and I would be very in favor of continuing to have the city be aggressively looking at TIFs. I know there might be some negatives that are with that, but I really think that the positives far outweigh those. So that'd be something that it'd have to be a big case that a TIF would not be a benefit to Pella. The other private public partnerships that we have seen many times involve the nonprofits, and Ann mentioned Wonderspale, and that was probably one of the biggest ones that I have seen where an idea was come and said, here's what we've got, can you as a city help us with some of it? We also just had that, like we said, with Lynn mentioned with Rotary Park. So I think those are going to come naturally, and we just always have to be very open as a city to encourage these groups to go out and come up with an idea, get some seed money, and let us jump in beside with them to get a good project completed.
Well, we've hit about the halfway point already, moving right along tonight. Before we take our 3-minute break, the PACE Alliance received a question today that we wanted to include in tonight's forum. And I thought I would give you all a preview of that question so that you would have the break to think about this question. And then we'll start with this question when we return. Pella has been well gardened over the years, and we've seen the rewards of that careful cultivation. Looking ahead, there are several emerging trends that present both challenges and opportunities for our community, including shifting demographics and declining birth rates, the aging of the baby boomer generation, the acceleration of robotics, and the growing impact of artificial intelligence. How should the city of Pella be monitoring, planning for, and responding to these changes? And as a city council member, how would you provide leadership to help our community stay ahead of the curve in these areas? And so after our 3-minute break, we will pick up with that question.
Yeah,
We are going to pick up where we left off right before our quick break with a PACE member question that was submitted today. And this question, we're going to start with our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Pella has been well gardened over the years, and we've seen the rewards of that careful cultivation. Looking ahead, there are several emerging trends that present both challenges and opportunities for our community, including shifting demographics and declining birth rates, the aging of the baby boomer generation, the acceleration of robotics, and the growing impact of artificial intelligence. How should the city of Pella be monitoring, planning for, and responding to these challenges? And as a city council member, how would you provide leadership to help our community stay ahead of the curve in these areas?
Well, I think this is a trend nationally. That is probably the good news, because we can look nationally at all of these declining birth rates and the employment potential of a reduction, the potential of robotics taking over in our factories. So I think that we always need to be aware that we don't have to reinvent the wheels. We can look not only within, but we can look out as well. I think that it's important, and we're seeing that now in our school systems that are they have a reduction in their enrollment. And we have to be able to look at those things, pivot, and adjust to be able to financially be ahead of the curve. We have to look at trends. We have to look to the state to see how taxation is going to change with birth rates declining. And we just always have to be constant learners.
Same question to our at-large candidates, beginning with Calvin Banstra.
Well, when you talk about trendy, I'm the wrong person to ask. When I bought my grandparents' house in 2001 here in Pella, I saw nothing wrong with the orange and yellow shag carpet. But I had a sister that argued with me on that. But two things that I think of right away. Once we have an excellent staff here and that are really devoted to keeping up on the trends and on the new features that are coming into city government in all different ways. I think AI is going to be the big one. That's the big one in the banking industry right now, and I think it's just starting to take place in marketing, but I think you're going to see that in risk analysis and all kinds of things that it will just filter into that. So I really believe we're going to have give the tools to our staff and able to do that. The one thing we talked about declining birth rates, we also talked about an aging baby boomer, and I really think that providing housing to our senior population and probably our care center population is something that we're really going to have to take a hard look in this city.
To Ann Summit, how do you think the city of Pella should be monitoring, planning for, and responding to these societal changes?
Well, having been in the school systems for 35 years, we have gone through things like this before where there are drastic changes. Things we have to realize is we have to adjust to meet that. And AI is, like Calvin said, we are just the tip of the iceberg with it. We don't know where it's going to go. Some of these questions were posed to the Comprehensive Committee concerning robotics and AI, recently. So we're going to have to really study these issues and see how they're going to affect our city. At this point, this is kind of a difficult question to answer. It's something we'll just look at in the future as it comes, and then we'll have to look at it very, very carefully.
To our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Anita Fisher, how should the city of Pella be monitoring, planning for, and responding to these societal changes too?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with what Ann said. I know when you can call a doctor's office or you can call a library. And I'm not speaking of the Pella Library, but you're going to get an AI assistant. And how many of us like that? We don't. So it's going to be a matter of speaking out, I think, to be saying, no, we want normal people, regular people in these positions. Now, I think that's all that we could possibly do because they're going to be looking at the money, at the pocketbook, what's cheaper. But I think that that's what we need to do. We just need to be cognizant of the changes and see what we go from there, because I really don't have an answer for what we could do at that point.
Same question to Bruce Skibout.
Wow, did the person that threw that question at you have a crystal ball also? I mean, we really, the only thing we are sure of is that change will happen. And AI can be a very great tool in all industries. Also, declining population as the aging population will get smaller. I think we can continue to attract and maintain or keep our growth going because of what we offer here. there's so many questions to that question. But I think the foundation of how we look and how we deal and how we answer that would be our past values and traditions. And as long as we go forward with them in the back of our mind, looking forward, relying upon our history, I think we'll be fine.
And to Spencer Carlstone, how should the city of Pella be monitoring, planning for, and responding to the societal changes that were alluded to in the question?
My phone's good.
Get the phone.
Are you there? Wait, hold on 1 second. I'll put you on speaker and then you're live to answer the question. Okay, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My apologies again. Excellent question. We don't have control over these things. This is a very in-depth question with lots of nuances. Everybody's hinted at already. What we do have control over is how we respond to it. We can respond with fear, or we can respond with fortitude. We can circle up our wagons, or we can roll out and move forward. And that's what we did historically. We are a city of pioneers. We can do what we've always done, or we can innovate. And thankfully, we're a city of innovators. And I think we can do it together. I think we've got a lot of wisdom, and we should embrace the wisdom of those boomers. We should embrace technology and use it at its potential. I don't think we can do a whole lot about birth rate, but I think the innovation part of what's in our DNA is really important in these solutions.
For our next question, we'll start with our at-large candidates, beginning with Ann Summit. Quality of life amenities are viewed as important economic development tools, especially when it comes to the recruitment and retention of employers and employees. What is your assessment of quality of life amenities in Pella? What role, if any, does the City Council play in the development or redevelopment of quality of life amenities?
As I mentioned before, I think we need to look at Pella through other people's eyes once in a while and see what we already have. We have a vast group of amenities that are happening here already. Like I said, the collaboration with private groups is very, very important to amenities. We've gotten quite a few that way. And overall, we need to really look at what we have, enhance what we have, and move forward. If trends change and we see something new we need to add, then let's talk about it collaboratively with the city.
Same question to Calvin Vanstra.
Yeah, your first part of the question was the assessment. Pella is the envy of other communities for the amount of amenities we have. So if I would list them all, we would not have time to get to the second part of that. And part of that is the great collaboration we've had with Pella Historical, Spirit of Pella, PACE, all of those organizations, the service groups that help get these projects up and going for these amenities. The second part of the question was what role that the city should play, and I think the city needs to play a very pivotal role in those. Amenities are a break even at best, and they're a cost to the city. I mean, we don't charge people to walk in the park. So all of these amenities that we have come with a cost, but there's an intrinsic value that has a multiplier effect when you look at folks that want to move into town. You have downtown businesses getting dollars in their cash registers when people come and visit. You have hospitals and schools getting, the businesses getting people wanting to come as they look for talent. So that is really the goal of the amenities, I think, for the city.
To our Ward 3 candidates and Bruce Skibow, what is your assessment of quality of life amenities here in Pella, and what role should the council play in the development or redevelopment of quality of life amenities?
I think the city can play a very important part in these amenities. Volunteerism, I think, oftentimes is taken for granted in the community because we have such great volunteers. And the things that get accomplished from tulip time to, it goes on to, like Ann mentioned, the Rotary Park. You know, that's all amenities, but I do think that the city can play a very important part in that. And, you know, let's not forget that what really is fundamental to our posterity and success, and it's not always all the amenities, but it's our traditions and our values.
Same question about quality of life amenities to Spencer Carlstone.
My current assessment is that the city of Pella is full of fantastic amenities that people of all types enjoy. I think the rec center passage and now construction was absolutely pivotal and a significant chapter change for us. I'm extremely proud of being on the council that voted that in. That is an example of forward thinking. And I think we need to continue to collaborate with stakeholders like PACE, Convention Visitor Bureau, our downtown businesses, to continue to come up with creative ways to draw people, whether it be for a weekend, a festival, or for a lifetime.
Next to Anita Fisher, same question.
Yeah, Pella is blessed to have so many amenities. We've had people come, you know, some of Corey's family and even family from my son-in-law have moved here because of Pella's amenities. So it's important that we continue to make sure that these amenities are taken care of. We need to make sure that we listen to the people of Pella. They have wonderful ideas as to our amenities. And we also have to make budget decisions that support amenities while assuring they have a long-term sustainability. So while we have these excellent parks, we have to make sure that we are taking care of them and have the money to continue to keep them up to date and looking great.
The question about quality of life amenities to Lynn Branderhorst.
Pella is amazing, and you don't have to believe me. When I was on the PACE website, I was playing around with what did other people, other periodicals think of our community. Because sometimes if you look from without, sometimes when you're always looking from within, you don't see what you really have. So while I was on there, I found that USA Today named Pella one of the top 50 cities. In fact, they named it number 3. Number 1 was West University Place, Texas. Check this next one out. If you learn nothing else tonight, learn this. Beverly Hills, California had number 2, and Pella, Iowa was number 3. So you don't get that type of shout out from USA Today if you don't have amenities and an operational city government.
Our next question will start with our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Spencer Carlstone. As a member of the City Council, how do you envision working with the Pella Area Community and Economic Alliance, the PACE Alliance, to strengthen the community?
This one seems to layer very well to the last question. PACE has an excellent gauge, maybe a finger on the pulse of what needs to happen for Pella to continue to thrive. They have excellent relationships with our main employers, actually any employer, small or large. And so they're a great resource for the city council and the city government to continue to move forward with private partnerships, private-public partnerships, and other entities that would develop community amenity growth. So I appreciate PACE and what it does. We appreciate the partnership between the city council and PACE, and hope that can continue to go forward.
The same question to Anita Fisher.
So PACE has done a wonderful job of making sure that the citizens know what's happening. They've got the calendar, they've got job openings, so they are the glue, if I may say, that holds Pella together. We all know where to go. We go to the PACE website, we talk to PACE, and we could find out exactly what's happening in our community.
To Bruce Skibout, how do you envision working with the PACE Alliance to help strengthen the community?
Well, I think over the years, I've really appreciated, especially the work of Karen. I remember more than once following her around Washington, D.C., trying to get into these different representatives. And that, I think, is the upper scale of what PACE would do. I also know that I use PACE. I have some rental properties, and they're always open. So they're encompassing value add to the community is great, from single individuals to businesses to large corporations, and especially the communication between city and business. PACE is a great highway. Thank you for that, Karen.
To our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst, how do you envision working with the PACE Alliance to help strengthen the community?
I don't think I'll change a thing. I've been working with them for 8 years and I've enjoyed it. They have taught me a lot. If I have a question, Karen is always available. If I have a question, Mary is always available. And they give strength and togetherness in our community. I mean, who doesn't love Thursday nights in Pella? That is not a small feat. So I would say I would love to continue my journey with PACE and strengthen my relationship with PACE because they're a good group. And I will say, to Anita's point too, get up on their website. They are invaluable. They have information about everything you would need to know about Pella and its inner workings.
Same question to our at-large candidates, beginning with Calvin Banstra.
Yes, I'll repeat a lot of what's already been said. PACE is a critical partner with the city. There's just no doubt about it. It's probably the best city employee not on the payroll that we have. And the work that they do has been very, very invaluable, especially when it comes to the things they've done in terms of the studies they've done. I can also speak personally too with having my customers at the bank that have used PACE always come back with very favorable results. So those are nice to hear. That's a tool and a partnership that I think we just have to keep using and keep benefiting from each other.
And to Ann Summit, if elected to the council, how do you envision working with the PACE Alliance to strengthen the community?
PACE is essential to this city. They are the ones that supply, like many have said, the calendar. There are things I didn't even know existed in this town unless I look at their calendar. They are the first contact for many people coming into our community as well as businesses coming into our community. And they share their knowledge with those people. They also help others to go beyond what they might be capable of doing on their own.
For our next question, we'll start with our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst. Governor Reynolds has signaled that property tax reform will be a priority during the next legislative session, which could impact property tax revenue available for the city of Pella. If elected to the city council, how would you work with state leaders to balance the property tax burden Pella homeowners face while ensuring that the city receives the revenue necessary to provide services for Pella residents?
That is a great question. It is a fact. Change is on the horizon. And what I've already been doing is I've made relationships with other elected officials in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. So when I have questions, and also at the county level as well, because we're seeing changes come onto our county level, it's important for us as elected officials to have relationships with the people at the top, because what happens at the top is definitely going to trickle down to the bottom. So I would say that I would continue with my relationships with the people at the top and be able to talk to the people to my left and to my right about what is coming so that we can adjust as a community as things come down the turnpike towards us as far as taxation changes.
To our at-large candidates, beginning with Ann Summit, if elected to the council, how would you work with state leaders to balance property tax burden within the city of Pella, but yet ensuring that the city receives the revenue necessary for services?
Well, at this time, I'm already in dialogue with some, and I think this is very important. I also think we have known for a while that there are going to be major changes, and this is going to affect not just Pella, it's going to affect our county and the state as well. So we need to be on top of this, we need to be informed, and we will need to follow very, very carefully what the legislature is proposing.
Same question to Calvin Banstra.
In a large degree, this ship has already sailed. The path is to have that property tax changes made, and that will have less revenue for the city. I think one of the best things that we can do is to keep informing our local legislators about the impact, and where I think it has a double-edged sword is that as the city council works hard to do amenities, to add value to the city, which is reflected in our property taxes, our property values, I should say, we're unable to capture that back to keep investing in the city. And I don't know if there's any metrics that can be shown for that, but it really dampens the ability for cities to work hard to try to increase the value. None of us like paying property taxes. We don't like writing the check. We love the amenities. How do we balance it?
To our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Anita Fisher, how would you work with state leaders in this space of property tax reform?
So I have a very good relationship with several of the legislators because I work at the State House for different reasons. So I have also invited Iowans for tax relief to come down, and they had already explained too, things are going to be changing. So now the fact that goes that I know many of the legislators, they know me, I believe I already have a seat at that table. So when it comes to discussions, I will be there and I'll give Pella a voice.
Same question to Bruce Skibout.
I think communication is going to be the key, not only from the state down to us, but also from council members to its constituents. You know, we don't know. We do know that there is probably a property tax reduction in the works for us. There's two alternatives. You can raise taxes some other way, or you can cut spending, or you can do both. But I think communication of what the state is going to do and mandate will be key, and hopefully we get enough time that we can react appropriately.
To Spencer Carlstone, if reelected to the city council, how would you work with state leaders to balance the property tax burden Pella homeowners face while ensuring that the city receives the revenue necessary to provide services?
This question circles back to the fiscal theory we had earlier. We can raise taxes as a revenue generator ourselves, as Bruce just mentioned, or cut costs. I would argue that there's additional ways for us to generate revenue, as evident by our successful electrical utility, Pella Fiber, and lost sales tax relationship with Marion County. So I think the answer to that is we need to continue to move forward with the city's best interest in mind, knowing that the environment at the state level is becoming antagonistic towards cities thriving. And so we need to be proactive and innovative about how the city can generate revenues on its own while minding our P's and Q's on the cost side.
I'm going to insert an audience question for our next question, and we'll start with our at-large candidates, beginning with Calvin Banstra. Many of you have mentioned how long Pella has been your family home. How do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
Well, that's a good question. Some of us have, Pella's not been my home, but I've lived in the area. I grew up in the area. So we often take for granted all those long-term connections, and I'm usually the winner at Dutch Bingo, in case anybody asks. So so those connections are real, and they run deep. They can be a little bit intimidating for newcomers that come. So I think PACE has done a lot of good work with the young professionals in trying to create avenues, to create spaces to have them feel welcome. I think all of us, as I'll call natives or area folks, also need to do our part to be welcoming as well as that too. The city, I think, is inviting on its own with its amenities that go to everybody, whether you're a newcomer or you've lived here. So I think each of us as individuals can really do our part to help that.
Same question to Ann Summit.
I just feel that, can you repeat the question just one more time, please?
Sure. Many of you have mentioned how long Pella has been your family home. How do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
Well, I'm an example of that. I have my roots here that are very, very deep. One of the things that is going to allow newcomers and people that are moving into our community and people already here is involvement and engagement. Without involvement and engagement in our community, we just become another community. But when you're involved, when you're engaged, you get to have great insights into other areas and you get to have dialogue with other people. And it really helps with newcomers and people maybe who have even lived here their whole life to hear another side of everything. And I think that's very, very important to this piece.
Same question to our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Bruce Skibow.
Could you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. Many of you mentioned how long Pella has been your family home. How do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
Well, I think we need to probably continue to do what we have been doing. I'm going to go back to what I think has been the three top reasons that people have moved here, and in talking to people, it's the schools. The school systems bring a lot of young families in. Also, you know, the safety that we provide. We are a safe community. Now, I realize that can change tomorrow, but I think that as a group, of emergency providers, we have an excellent job there. They do an excellent job. And then also our traditions and our values. I'm always impressed how that sticks in new people that come to this community. That's what brings them.
To Spencer Carlstone, how do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I have 7 children, so I do a lot of spot checking at home as they grow. And now that our 2 are launched, we do a lot of introspection about what would bring them back. So that alludes to the idea of, I think we need to stay in touch with what young people and young professionals need. I think first and foremost, they would need a job. and then they would look for the amenities of the city, including things like safety. But if we're not competitive for our industry, our commercial base, then we won't be able to attract anybody no matter how pretty our streets are.
And to Anita Fisher, how do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
So first and foremost, again, we need to have a place where they can live. When I spoke with several people and their parents, as I went door to door, they wanted to have their families live here, and the families did want to live here, but they did not have a place to live. So we need to work on that first and foremost. And then also it's word of mouth. How many places we have looking for people to fill positions is also a great way. Also, it's our safety, our schools. That's what we bring people in. And we can be so very proud of that. We have more people that want to come here, but we just need to have a place for them to be here. So that's something that we need to work on continually. The amenities, everything else is great, but let's give them a place to be.
We'll move to Lynn Branderhorst, candidate in Ward 1. How do you plan to ensure that Pella remains a desirable home for young professionals and families to place their roots?
Thank you. Well, I do have to go back to Calvin's statement in the beginning. Calvin always wins Dutch bingo. Always. Don't even try. Don't engage. Don't go there. So much to, like my colleagues up on stage, I totally agree. In order to have these wonderful young families here, we have to make sure they can move here in the first place. And that is, of course, affordable housing. And I think we all agree on that. And we have to provide a community where it's safe and inviting. And we can do all of those things with our city staff. But one thing I think that's really overlooked is we have to collaborate with our organizations. And recently I had the honor of sitting down with Spirit of Pella, and they showed me that that's their whole premise, is to make the people who are here feel part of the community. And so I would say that I would encourage the council to continue to walk beside organizations like that.
Next question, we'll start with our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Spencer Carlstone. 2 weeks ago, the Marion County Board of Supervisors denied a request from the City of Pella for funding the University Street extension. That decision, coupled with other decisions over the last few years, suggests that the relationship between the City of Pella and Marion County might be frayed. If elected to the City Council, how would you work to help maintain or improve the relationship between the city and Marion County?
I would say frayed is exaggerated. I think Marion County does an excellent job. They've got the same pressures of costs and revenues that we do. I think they've shown historically that they're very willing to partner with the City of Pella. I also think that they do down deep understand that we're the economic engine for Marion County. So I would continue to work on building relationships with that commission to understand that relationship that Pella has to Marion County. Though I do think that they understand that already.
Same question to Anita Fisher.
Okay, so I've taken the time to listen to the Marion County Board of Supervisors meetings, and then they have said continually, we are in maintenance mode at this point. It's not that they don't want to give us the money, it's just they don't really feel they can, and to serve other towns in Marion County. So I don't think there is a frayed relationship there, I just think they cannot.
Same question to Bruce Skibout.
Yeah, I think that you were right, Doc, that I served under Mayor Dobenacker, and also Mayor Mueller. And we had a really good relationship with Marion County. And I don't think that that is why they did not acquiesce to our request. I think they are financially strapped also like we are. But I think a good relationship with other local entities like the Marion County Supervisors is imperative. And I think we need to work at that.
To our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst, how would you work with the city council to help maintain or improve the relationship with Marion County?
Well, I know each and every one of the Board of Supervisors by name, served under Mayor Mueller, who is now on the Board of Supervisors. We have had conversations together about each of the issues, and I don't see the relationship as frayed. I think that their budget is frayed because they have had a lot of tax cuts from the state. And so we need to understand that they're under pressure too. So they are just doing what is right for the citizens of Marion County.
And the same question to our at-large candidates, beginning with Ann Summit.
I think it comes down to communication, communication, communication. We need to sit down, we need to discuss, we need to listen. Both sides need to be heard, but it comes down, like other people have said, they're in a budget crunch just like we are. And they have to watch who they're representing as well. So those are my thoughts with the Board of Supervisors.
And to Calvin Branstra, if elected to the city council, how would you work to help improve or maintain the relationship with Marion County?
Yes, I'd agree with Spencer. I don't think it's frayed. I was at the supervisors meeting where the council had given the request to help with the University Street extension. And as Anita said, the comment was said they were in maintenance mode. Now, the one thought that went through my mind when I thought that if you're constantly in maintenance mode, you got to get some type of vision where you can get out of that mode. Now, how you get out of that with budget cuts is really, really tough with that. But I've really appreciated the supervisors in Marion County have done a really unique thing with us with the redistribution of the local option sales tax. And that is a benefit that we have. They have also mentioned on how the local option sales tax, which Pella generates most of, is funding the new secondary roads building that they're building. So I think we, as Ann mentioned, we really have to communicate to show what the benefit of Pella is doing for all of Marion County. And as the former supervisor from Pella, Howard Potvin, said, if it benefits Pella, it benefits all of Marion County. And I think that's very true.
For our next question, which will be our last question, we'll start with our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst. What unique skills or perspectives do you bring that will benefit the council?
That's an interesting question. I have to ponder just. I think one of the things that I do bring to my position is a humbleness of, I work for you. And I love working for you. And I understand my job and my role. And I understand a lot about infrastructure. And I understand about working with people and how to keep the city staff doing what they do and letting them know how great they really are. I think it's been an 8-year lesson for me, and I've loved every moment of it. So I think one of the unique skills I do bring is I'm in constant learning mode for you. If I don't know it, I will find it out. I will chase it down.
Next to our at-large candidates, beginning with Calvin Branstra.
Yes, these are always hard questions to answer because I don't think none of us are by nature braggers. So that's always tough. I guess I look at my experience. I've been in the banking industry for 40 years dealing with people often face to face with their problems and trying to find solutions for them. And that could be something fun as whether I'm going to buy a new business or something that has a lot of losses. How do we restructure? So that experience has helped me learn to listen and help to really try to find sometimes creative solutions. The other thing that would be my 19 years as city clerk of the city of Lighton when I was the banker there. That really helped me, give me hands-on experience to see the ins and outs of city government and how a dedicated group of people can make a difference. And I tried to use that in my first term of council, and that's what I would really like to bring to the table on the second term.
To Ann Summit, what unique skills or perspectives do you bring that will benefit the council?
I am deeply involved and engaged in many areas of this community, and I feel that is a very, very big plus for me. In my teaching career, as a teacher, you're taught to question, you're taught to observe, and you're taught to find answers to questions you may not know. And I feel that defines who I am too. At one point, I had somebody said to me, "You must have been a teacher." And I said, "Well, how did you know?" And they said, "You're asking a lot of questions." So I think knowing where we have been also and using that as we move into the future is very, very important with our historic values, with the values that Pella has had in the past and where we're heading in the future.
To our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Anita Fisher, what unique skills or perspectives do you bring that will benefit the council?
So I have attended the city council meetings for the last 3 to 4 years, also the budget sessions. And so I have a good understanding by following that, what is actually happening in the council meetings and what needs to happen. Also, by working with Southern Iowa Economic Development Association, we had to work with the community. We had to find different ways that people could thrive, that people could go to their jobs, that people could make a living. And so that's exactly what we're doing here. My schooling includes abstracting and engineering assistant and many, many office positions. So I have a good knowledge of what it works and doesn't work in a business. So I believe that would be an excellent thing to move forward for the city council. It'd be a positive note for us.
Same question to Bruce Skiba.
Could you repeat the question, please?
What unique skills or perspectives do you bring that will benefit the council?
I think my experience is one that I can add to a future council. For 20 years, I have served. I see Mark Young out there, and that was a. I always thought that I was a seasoned council member, and then I was sitting next to him. But anyhow, I think that experience has a lot to do with it. And also, I get out and talk to people. I'm been told that I'm quite approachable, and I've always tried to serve this community with a servant's heart.
And to Spencer Carlstone, what unique skills or perspectives do you bring that will benefit the council?
I have 2 economics degrees from Baylor University. I would say that brings me an ability to do pretty effective cost-benefit analysis. And then as a physician, I hope I'm pretty good at diagnosing problems and coming up with solutions. I think those features alone make me adapted leading from the city council seat. I love the idea of coming up with creative, innovative solutions and dreaming about what Pella could be so that someday my grandchildren want to live here.
Okay, I was just kidding. This is going to be the last question. And this is another audience question. What do you think the biggest hurdle is to economic development in Pella? And we're going to start with our at-large candidates, beginning with Ann Summit.
I feel the biggest hurdle right now is cost. This is not a cheap community to live in, and we all know that. And as we're looking at future needs and the cost of land, the cost of building. I think that's going to hinder us a little bit unless we can come up with some kind of a partnership with businesses and other groups that want to come into our community.
Same question to Calvin Banstra.
Yes, I'm going to echo the cost feature that Ann mentioned, but more the cost of what regulatory issues have said. I think we just talked about a stormwater management system. On the cost to put that in and development is unbelievable, and that's where TIF comes in to help with that. I also think that our rules and regulations in Pella are really not as big of a burden as people think. I know there's different issues that people have to trip up over, but by and large, I don't think that those are the hurdles. I really think it's the underlying cost, what it takes to get general regulatory features in place for development.
To our Ward 3 candidates, beginning with Bruce Skibout, what do you think the biggest hurdle is to economic development in Pella?
Costs certainly are a factor, but they're probably, the rising cost of things is probably pretty well universal. And we're not the only community that's going to be dealing with that. Probably long-term planning. I think that we need to do more long-term planning. I know we have talked years back about a street developments and where we saw that headed, and the mobility and the layout of like the bike path and bypass around the community. All those things, they take time and they take vision to implement. And I think that there probably is something that we really could improve on.
To Spencer Carlstone, what do you think the biggest hurdle is to economic development in Pella?
I'm going to get a little philosophical here, but I think the biggest hurdle is fear. I think change is hard. I think Bruce mentioned wisely earlier that the only thing for sure is change. So it's all about how we respond to the stressors and the pinches and the difficulties that define us as humans. And I think Pella historically has done such a unique job of overcoming those hurdles that they were dealing with at those moments. And I think this group of people in the city of Pella currently are capable of overcoming the hurdles that are here if we can get over our fear.
Same question to Anita Fisher. What is the biggest hurdle in terms of economic development for the city of Pella?
So I think the biggest hurdle is cost. I really do. If we look at future expenses, we're going to have to possibly have a Pella's EMS, we'll have a potentially essential services tax referendum. We have lead in our waters in many citizens in older parts of Pella. We have a bunch of proposed projects for the electric plant, including advanced metering infrastructure, water supply, treatment plans that need to be federally mandated wastewater treatment. But I think we need to look further at the comprehensive plans that are already in there. That's something we need to keep focusing on because that is a true betterment for the city of Pella.
And to our Ward 1 candidate, Lynn Branderhorst, what do you think the biggest hurdle is to economic development in Pella?
Well, I'll be like a parrot and say cost. It is. It's expensive to develop. But I also think creativity has been a hurdle for us. And I've seen the city council take a turn into being more creative as to how do we attract these developers. Can we look at certain programs? Can we look at grants? Can we look at initiatives? Can we consider tax abatements for businesses coming into Pella? So I think that the costs can be offset with creativity in our local government.
We're going to move to our closing statements now. As a reminder, each candidate has 90 seconds to offer their closing statement tonight. We're going to begin with our at-large candidates, and we're going to begin with Calvin Banstra.
Yeah, first of all, I'll repeat the thanks that many of us said early for this event to happen. And I also want to thank the candidates as well. When you looked at a lot of other cities, there's no competition, there's no competitive races. So I think the fact that we do have competitive races largely here, that is a good sign for Pella. Pella has a lot to be thankful for, and I have a lot to be thankful for being affiliated with Pella. I think of those that I've seen in public service over the years, both in my family and in my coworkers. Right now at Bank, Iowa, there's a group of 4 of us that are running for city council or school board positions. So we can all kind of commiserate together as we do that. But I really appreciate this opportunity. I also see Mark DeYoung there. I appreciate the encouragement that he gave me to run. He has very tall shoes to fill for this at-large position that Ann and I are seeking. At age 62, I won't have to worry about reaching his 48 years of service, so I'm safe with that. I think that I do have, with my background, have the tools, especially in the financial world and the development world, to understand what we need to do in Pella. And I just want to thank everybody and ask for your support to get to that position.
Closing statement from Ann Summit.
I just want to thank Pace and all of you who turned out here tonight for allowing me the opportunity to tell you what's on my heart. As the old cliche goes, we must be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. That's the first and foremost thing that I look at. But also as a person, I feel with the teaching career I've had and working with a multitude and variety of students and parents, looking at learning styles and thinking skills, I feel I have a vast supply to draw from in order to meet the needs of the citizens of our community. We must keep our citizens informed, and when we make decisions, we must have a clear and concise explanation for why we are coming up with the reason we're making the decision on. You know, we need to have community involvement. And I think that's something that people are sometimes hesitant to get involved. They're scared to get involved. And I want to make our city more comfortable to come forward with questions for candidates, questions for council members, and not be afraid to ask. And that's something I hope that I can bridge that gap with. Thank you.
Moving to our Ward 1 candidate, closing statement from Lynn Branderhorst.
Thank you. Thank you, Pella. Thank you, Ward 1, for believing in me and putting me in this position and encouraging me for 8 solid years. Thanks to Dan Vanderbeek, who's in the audience, who's remained my friend, even though we did a head-to-head runoff one year. Thank you to everyone that came. It is such an honor and a privilege to serve the community that has raised me, that's educated me. It's inexplicable to me to tell you how much I love what I'm doing, and I'd like to continue to do it and be able to represent all of the Pella taxpayers, not just Ward 1, because when you become a public servant, you are just that. You are a servant for the entirety of Pella. So I appreciate the attendance and I appreciate your trust in me. Thank you.
To our Ward 3 candidates, the closing statement from Bruce Skibout.
I would again like to thank Pace and you, Dr. Green, for hosting this event and giving us as candidates the opportunity to share our vision for the community. With all that lies before us, I feel that an experienced and steady hand is needed to guide us forward. One that has a record of faithful servant to the community. And I again look forward to interacting with staff and attending to the citizens' needs and desires. And I would value your vote on the 4th. Thank you.
Closing statement from Anita Fisher.
So it was my great great uncle that was the architect for the Tulip Tower. It was my great uncle Melvin Vermeer that was a fireman for Pella. It's my great grandfather that was co-owner of the White Way. They all served Pella, and I continue to hope by their example that I will continue to serve the people of Pella. I want to say that I met Ward 3 residents right at their doors. I heard their concerns. I heard their hopes. I heard their fears. That's where the real conversations are. And that's where the solutions begin. At the same time, I have the energy and strong working relationships I've built at the local, county, and state levels. I'm ready to keep Pella moving forward, ensure our community always has a voice at the table. And that is why I am running.
And the closing statement from Spencer Carlstone.
Thank you, Dr. Green, for being here. Thank you for Pace's willingness to do this and the audience's willingness to put up with this phone call. Appreciate the people on the stage who obviously love Pella and want to serve. The city of Pella has so much to offer. We all love this place. We all contribute to this place. But knowing we are competing on a national level, we need to actively improve and inspire. I don't believe that means we strive to become Des Moines, Kansas City, or Chicago. I do believe that means we become the best version of Pella we can become. We need a culture of welcome. We need housing options for all comers. We need benefits like a rec center, a community center, an independent library, and a place for the arts to thrive. We need not fear change. We need not fear ideas different from our own. We need leadership that sets a vision forward. We need leadership that can consider the other side. We need leadership that collaborates. We need leadership that empowers. We need leadership that doesn't micromanage. We need leadership. I believe I can continue that task. I feel like I have the last 4 years and look forward to serving 4 years more.
Thank you, candidates. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Karen Eishen.
All right, let's give Dr. Green a fantastic round of applause. Dr. Green, things that people may not see is all the work you put in ahead of this in preparation for this forum. It is absolutely amazing. And I know the pay is not well when you're a volunteer, but you are an A+ student right there. Thank you so much. Well, we all know elections matter, and we hope you vote on November 4th. And it's your opportunity to really shape our community. So we hope that you do get out and vote. On behalf of the PACE Alliance, I want to thank our candidates. It's not always easy to sit up here and take questions you have no idea is coming at you. So thank you very much. Thank you again to the audience attending in person, and thank you to all of those listening and that will be watching on Pella Fiber. Just a side note, we also asked the candidates to submit in writing 4 questions that we'll put up on our website beginning tomorrow morning. So if you want to check those out, those questions were asked this evening, but if anybody was not here for it or cannot tune in to the other mediums, please go ahead and read their answers. It helps you get to know them a little better. And for the candidates, for the voters, we hope this forum provided just that, an opportunity for you to get to know what their philosophies are, their views are, and where they want to lead us in the future. So thank you once again. Have a great evening, and we will see you at the voting booth on November 4th.